The parking garage breathed out heat and exhaustion at the end of the workday. Concrete pillars stood like tired soldiers, streaked with oil and old tire marks, while fluorescent lights flickered overhead, buzzing softly as if they, too, wanted to shut off and rest. Daniel Reyes pushed his janitorial cart slowly along the painted yellow line, the wheels squeaking in protest. His shoulders ached, his hands smelled of disinfectant, and his lower back throbbed with the familiar pain that never fully went away. Still, he kept moving. He always did. A few meters away, near the elevator doors, his daughter Sofia sat on a low concrete barrier, swinging her legs back and forth. Her pink backpack rested beside her, decorated with peeling cartoon stickers. She had finished her homework earlier, carefully showing him each page before tucking the notebook away. Now she watched cars roll in and out, counting them under her breath, a game she played whenever she got bored. Daniel glanced at her every few seconds. He hated bringing her to work, hated the echoing space, the strangers, the risk. But the babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, and his sister was working a double shift at the hospital. Missing work wasn't an option. Rent was due. Electricity didn't wait. Life didn't wait. Stay where I can see you, he reminded her softly. I know, Papa, Sofia replied, rolling her eyes in a way that made him smile despite everything. He dipped the mop into the bucket, wrung it out, and dragged it across the concrete, scrubbing away a dark stain that refused to disappear. Around them, office workers in crisp shirts and polished shoes passed by, voices loud with relief and weekend plans. Some barely noticed him, others nodded politely, eyes sliding away just as fast. To most of them, he was part of the background, another uniform, another mop, another invisible man. A sleek black sedan turned into the garage, its paint so shiny it reflected the overhead lights like a mirror. Daniel noticed it only because it didn't park right away. The car rolled slowly, then stopped a few spaces away from where Sofia sat. The engine stayed running, a low, confident purr. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. The rear window lowered partway. He couldn't see the driver clearly, just a glimpse of a sharp suit collar and an expensive watch resting on the steering wheel. Then a voice emerged, calm, smooth, and entirely too casual. Hey there, the man said. Your dad's still working. Sofia looked up, startled. She glanced instinctively toward Daniel, then back at the car. Yeah, she answered, unsure. Daniel straightened, his heart beginning to race. He took a step forward, mop still in hand, eyes locked on the car. The voice continued, friendly but impatient. I'm heading up anyway. If you want, I can give you a ride. Saves you waiting around down here. Time seemed to slow. Daniel's breath caught. Every warning he had ever learned, every nightmare he had ever imagined, slammed into him at once. He dropped the mop without realizing it, the handle clattering loudly against the concrete. Sofia, he shouted, his voice exploding through the garage. Don't get in the car. The words echoed off the walls, sharp and raw. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Footsteps slowed. Several people turned to look, eyebrows raised, eyes curious. Sofia froze. Her small body stiffened, and fear flashed across her face. She slid off the concrete barrier and backed toward her father, her backpack bouncing awkwardly against her legs. Daniel ran. His shoes slapped hard against the floor as he closed the distance, putting himself squarely between his daughter and the car. His chest heaved, lungs burning, but he didn't move aside. He stood there, wide and solid, like a wall. You, don't talk to her, Daniel said, his voice shaking with anger and adrenaline. You don't offer rides. You don't. The window rolled down the rest of the way. The driver finally leaned forward into the light. He was well-groomed, clean-shaven, with calm eyes that now showed genuine surprise. I'm sorry, the man said quickly. I didn't mean any harm. I just thought. You thought wrong, Daniel snapped. His hands trembled, but he didn't lower them. One arm stayed protectively in front of Sofia, who clutched the back of his shirt with both fists. You don't approach a child you don't know. People were fully staring now. Some whispered to each other. Someone nearby pulled out a phone. Daniel felt the weight of their attention pressing down on him, but he didn't care. Let them watch, let them judge. His daughter was safe behind him, and that was all that mattered. Two security guards appeared from the far end of the garage, alerted by the raised voices. One spoke into his radio while the other scanned the scene, eyes flicking between Daniel, the child, and the expensive car. What's going on here? One of them asked. Before Daniel could answer, a man in a tailored suit walking past stopped short. His face went pale. "Sir," he said quietly to the driver, that's the CEO." The word floated in the air like it was supposed to mean something. Like it was supposed to make Daniel step back, apologize, shrink. He didn't. Daniel met the man in the car's eyes, unblinking. "I don't care who you are," he said, his voice low but fierce. "You don't cross that line." For a moment, there was silence, thick, uncomfortable, charged. The CEO's jaw tightened, then relaxed. He slowly lifted both hands from the steering wheel, palms open. "You're right," he said. "I should have asked. I'm sorry." Daniel didn't respond. His heart was still pounding too hard. His ears rang. He felt Sofia press closer to him, her forehead against his back. Security stepped in, guiding the situation apart, murmuring calm words. The car pulled away, disappearing up the ramp. The crowd slowly dispersed, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. Daniel finally looked down at Sofia. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice breaking now that the danger had passed. She nodded, eyes shiny but dry. "I didn't want to," she whispered. "I waited." Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her tight right there in the middle of the garage, mop still lying forgotten on the floor. Around them, life resumed, engines started, doors slammed, footsteps echoed, but for a long moment, he didn't let go. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He would do it all over again. Morning light poured through the glass walls of the tower, turning the lobby into a cathedral of reflections and quiet power. Daniel Reyes stepped inside with Sofia at his side, her small fingers wrapped tightly around his. He had barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the parking garage again, the black car, the lowering window, the way his heart had nearly burst through his ribs. By dawn, an email had arrived instructing him to report to the executive floor at 10 a.m. No explanation, just a location he had only ever seen from the inside after midnight, when it was empty and silent. Sofia looked up at the soaring ceiling, her mouth slightly open. "Papa," she whispered, "are we in trouble?" Daniel swallowed. "I don't know," he admitted honestly. "But whatever happens, I'm right here." The elevator ride felt endless. The higher they went, the tighter the knot in his stomach grew. He imagined security escorts, termination papers, warnings about behavior and respect. He imagined trying to explain to Sofia why they might have to move again. When the doors finally opened, the executive floor was calm and immaculate. Thick carpet muffled their footsteps. Framed awards lined the walls, each one a testament to success Daniel had never been invited to share. A woman at the reception desk smiled politely and gestured them toward a large conference room. Inside, a long table stretched beneath a row of windows overlooking the city. Several senior managers sat along the sides, murmuring quietly. At the head of the table stood the man from the garage. The CEO, Evan Cole. Daniel's shoulders stiffened instinctively. He placed a protective hand on Sofia's back as they stepped in. Evan looked different in daylight, less imposing, more human. Still sharp, still confident, but there was something careful in his expression now. He waited until the door closed before speaking. "Thank you for coming," Evan said. His voice carried easily, practiced but calm. "And thank you for bringing your daughter." Daniel nodded once, saying nothing. Evan stepped away from the head of the table and walked around it, stopping in front of Sofia. Then, to the quiet shock of everyone in the room, he crouched down until he was at her eye level. "I owe you an apology," Evan said gently. "Last night, I spoke to you when I shouldn't have. I didn't ask your dad first, and that was wrong. I'm sorry if I scared you." Sofia glanced up at Daniel, then back at Evan. "It was scary," she said softly. "I understand," Evan replied without flinching. "And you didn't do anything wrong." He stood and turned to Daniel. "Neither did you." Daniel's heart stuttered. He had prepared himself for anything except that. "You reacted the way a parent should," Evan continued. "You didn't hesitate. You didn't stop to consider my title, my position, or the consequences. You protected your child. That takes courage." A low murmur rippled around the table. Daniel cleared his throat. "I was just doing my job," he said quietly. "Being her father." Evan nodded. "Exactly." He gestured toward the chairs. "Please, sit." Daniel hesitated, then guided Sofia to a seat beside him. He remained on edge, every muscle ready, as Evan returned to the head of the table. "I asked you here," Evan said, addressing the room, "because last night exposed something important. Not about Daniel, but about us." He paused, letting the words settle. We talk a lot about values in this company. Integrity, accountability, respect. But values don't mean much if they only apply upward. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. Daniel Reyes has worked here for 5 years, Evan continued, glancing at a file on the table. Night shifts, perfect attendance, no complaints. He's raised a child on a janitor's salary and still shows up every day and does his job with pride. Last night, he reminded me that leadership doesn't come with a job title. Daniel's hands clenched together in his lap. He wasn't sure how to process being spoken about like that, in a room like this. Evan turned back to him. I also learned that our policies don't adequately address child safety on company property. That changes today. He outlined the new measures clearly and firmly. Enhanced security protocols, mandatory training for all staff, a strict rule that no employee, regardless of rank, would approach a minor without parental consent. Equal enforcement, no exceptions. Then he went further. We're also expanding family support benefits, Evan said. Childcare stipends, emergency leave, tuition assistance. These benefits will apply to all employees, including custodial and contract staff. Gasps circled the room now, no longer quiet. Evan looked directly at Daniel. And finally, there's you. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. You've been doing more than cleaning this building, Evan said. You've been holding your life together under pressure most people here have never faced. There's an opening in facilities management. Day hours, full benefits, a salary that reflects the responsibility. I want to offer it to you. For a moment, Daniel couldn't breathe. He stared, convinced he had misheard. Sofia was the first to react. She squeezed his hand hard, her face lighting up. Papa, she whispered, that's good, right? Daniel's vision blurred. He nodded, emotion clogging his throat. Yes, he managed. That's very good. Evan smiled, not the polished corporate smile, but something more genuine. Take the time you need to decide, he said. But know this, what you did last night mattered. The meeting ended quietly. People filed out, many offering nods of respect Daniel had never received before. As he and Sofia stepped back into the elevator, Daniel finally let out a long, shaking breath. The doors closed, and the city dropped away beneath them. Sofia leaned against him. You were brave, she said. Daniel hugged her close, feeling the weight of the past years lift just a little. He hadn't shouted for recognition. He hadn't acted for reward. He had acted out of love. And somehow, that love had changed everything.